Thank you for tuning into our podcast. We are coming to you from Chicopee, Massachusetts. I am your host, Carrie, and joining me is Holyoke's very own local historian and creator of the historical tours of Greater Holyoke, Robert Camus. He offers both public and private tours, as well as presentations of the local canal systems, reservoirs, cemeteries, and churches, as well as various parks and streets in Holyoke, South Hadley, and Chicopee, Mass. Now you actually lead these tours and give these presentations yourself, is that correct?
Yes, and this is on the third level canal, so I do it then.
And today he'll be educating us on the Excelsior paper mill. So tell us about the origins of the Excelsior.
All right, the Excelsior paper mill was a mill made by Daniel Newton and then run by the Newton family. The Newton family were four brothers that were very powerful in Holyoke, had lots of money, and they had construction firms that would make these mills. And the company was made in the year 1873, so this is its 150th anniversary in the year 2023. And they made fine paper. Excelsior means excellent paper, and so they wanted to make very nice, fine writing paper to use. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to tell about its production, and we're also going to tell about how it changed through time, and then is there any evidence that Excelsior as paper or a mill still exists? So the origins are that it's down by the third level canal, between that canal and the Connecticut River. It's very close to the spillway from the third level canal to the river. The water drop is about 30 feet, so the very powerful turbines on this one. They only needed one turbine. It was a small mill, and it was shaped in the direction of the tunnel, which means it was shaped perpendicular to the canal and river at first, and then the back portion was parallel to the river. And the front portion was one story and the back 2 stories. Now, what it did was very typical of all paper mills around Holyoke. It'd bring the up to the second floor the product, the raw product, and in this case, they were cotton paper makers, so they'd bring cotton rags up there. Now, the big difference is you have to differentiate between different kinds of mills because they're making different products. They have to compete. You have to be a little bit different from the next guy. And what they did was they ground up the cotton rags so finely that they would then put that into the paper. Instead of leaving strands of cotton, they would leave cotton powder. And then they'd bring that down and put it into the paste that was making the paper. And this is the way they made their fine paper. Instead of being with very slight strands around it, it was all ground up. Very different way of doing things.
And so tell us about the production at the Excelsior.
Okay, the way the production happened is that the power, the engine room was towards the river, so the tunnel or the race that was bringing the water in was kept horizontal for about 100 feet. Then it hit the turbine room, which was down in the basement, and then it's built on top of the turbine to set the power going. Now, that engine room then had the gears, the belts, so forth, going up to the top floor, and that's where they're grinding up the cotton. So they liked being down by the third level canal because that was the most powerful place. It had the biggest drop of water. Just like the other mills down there, cardboard mills down there need a lot of power to make cardboard. This mill needed a lot of power to grind up the cottons. And it did so very successfully. It even had specialized dusters and dust catchers. It'd catch it all and then bring it down to the production line that was on the first floor. And that production line was a one floor building towards the front or towards the third level canal. And it just made basically one product with a few variations to it. But it was writing paper, so they'd make it very fine with insignia on top like people really loved.
And so quickly before we continue with the rest of our interview, just to fill our listeners in, if you want to find out more information or sign up for any of his various tours, you can check out his website at holyokecanaltour.org. And there he has both videos of the various stops along each tour and also past and present photos of the historical sites throughout as well. And if you're interested in setting up a private tour, You can do so by emailing him directly at bobcat4214, capital B, at yahoo.com. And they are perfect for fun educational outdoor activities for the whole family or for your group parties, especially those special occasions and get-togethers. And they're also good just for getting outdoors for the day. So getting back to our interview, how did it change through time?
All right, the biggest change of all happened around 1910 or so, where it changed hands. It went from being the Excelsior paper mill into the Advertisers paper mill. I don't know what that company did yet, but another drastic change was that in the 1930s, it totally disappeared and nothing was ever built there again. And this is unusual for paper mills because usually they were able to sell it off to another company and keep the mill going. In this case, in the 1930s, the mill was taken down and there's no remnants of it anywhere. And it's one of the few mills around Holyoke. I can't see any remnants. It probably is the first paper mill in Holyoke ever taken down for any reason. It might have been because the Newton family had sold it off after the last Newton man died. And maybe that company just wasn't profitable. I really have to look into that. It's a very peculiar kind of paper, and it's a very peculiar changeover, what you don't see in Holyoke, because Holyoke was a great, successful city.
And so, how does the Excelsior live on?
Okay, I think if you look up types of paper, you find Excelsior used in the paper terminology has fine shreds of linden tree paper. And I wonder if that word didn't come into existence because of the way that the Newton brothers were making paper. They owned not only cotton paper mills, but also wooden shaved paper mills. And they had their own pulp mill from wood logs, and that was also in Holyoke. And I wonder if that kind of making paper from linden trees into paper didn't go over into terminology because they had a mill called the Excelsior. So someday I want to look into that. It's very hard to prove. And this is one of the hardest companies I've ever had around Holyoke because they disappeared early and they had a very bizarre way of making paper. And then the terminology still exists out there. So I wonder what is happening. This is a big question to me.
And so, thank you, Robert, for educating us on your tours. And we want to thank our listeners for tuning in. You can also tune into a large selection of his other podcasts and much more at his website. Again, that's holyokecanaltour.org. And again, you can email him directly for private tours or to inquire about anything else at bobcat4214, capital B, at yahoo.com. And be sure to keep an eye out for his upcoming 2024 season tours